a couple of big movies may be getting prequels, and I sort of kind of got my comeuppance. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
It's a me,
Dario!
Woohoo! Let's go!
Alright, so as always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram or at SuperDario_World. How can I explain this? Because I had something sort of kind of blow up in my face. So, last Friday, in my Drifting Dragons review, at the beginning of it, I shared and also made a request for you listeners to not share a particular thing that I was planning on doing to the members of the show. But basically, I was planning on setting up something that could lead to some, let's say, chaos at the station. For those of you who don't know, I work at a radio station called Rock 105.3, the morning show, and for the past couple of months, the morning show had been broadcasting from location, and it looked like on Monday was the first day they were going to come back. So, at one point, while I was running things there at the station, I kind of stole a keyboard from one of the other studios, from Emily's studio, and I used it in the big studio because I hate the stupid wireless keyboard that we had in the big studio. Anyway, point is, what I expected to happen was on Monday, Emily, if they came back, Emily was going to be like, "Oh my, I don't have a keyboard here," but I told her specifically that I left the keyboard in the big studio. So she would go into the big studio and try to get the wired keyboard that belongs to her computer, and the person in the big studio, Thor, would be like, "Well, I need a keyboard," and he'd try to use the wireless one, and it wouldn't work because the batteries were dead. They were dead because I had the new batteries, which I never put in, and shenanigans would ensue, right? Well, apparently I was not counting on one little thing, and that's Emily's, let's say, lack of desire of getting into confrontations with people. So what she did was she went into her studio, she saw the keyboard wasn't there, so she went into the phone screening studio, which is the one where I usually work at when they're not on location. That's the one where I usually work at, and she basically Zoolandered the thing off the wall. She just grabbed the keyboard, ripped it out. Now, I need to clarify this. Why did I not take that keyboard previously? It's because the wiring was so crazy, and it was so... honestly, I wasn't even sure where you ripped it out from. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to touch this because the last time I touched this, engineers got mad at me. Because it's the thing back there is a mess. I don't know why they don't just do a simple wire thing to the back of the computer. It's a whole setup, and I was like, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm following the right one. I'm not going to touch this. She did not give a fuck. She just went in there and ripped it out. Donkey Konged it off the wall. She did not give a fuck. And so when I got there, I was like, where the fuck's my keyboard? What the hell's happening? So then I have to go like an idiot into Thor's studio, and I grabbed the wireless keyboard because I already had the batteries for it, and afterwards I'm going to switch it out. But I was really looking forward to that the whole weekend to see like, what trouble is this going to cause? Is it going to cause a little bit of drama between them? And it turns out that no, it just made it made my life more complicated. And obviously, I'm the one that's going to get yelled at by the engineers because the wiring's now is going to be all fucked up. Because eventually somebody's going to go in there and going to be like, "Hey, why are the wires in here all fucked up?" And I'll be like, I don't know, Zoolander. Anyway, so that sucked. But thank you to everybody who did not say anything. I don't think anybody said anything because nobody mentioned anything in the studio. So thank you to everybody. Now I know that I can trust you a little bit more. But anyway, let's get on to the news because there's a couple of big titles that look like they're going to be getting a prequel that are pretty interesting. And I'll start with the easy one that's pretty much confirmed, and we already have possibilities for a lead. According to director George Miller, he is working on creating a Mad Max Fury Road prequel, but it's going to be Furiosa prequel. It's going to follow the story of Imperator Furiosa, which is basically Charlize Theron's character. Charlize Theron. I heard her say her name once. I think it's Charlize Theron. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, so her character is going to be getting a prequel, and it's not going to be Charlize Theron. You know what? Fuck it. Charlize Theron. It's not going to be her. They're looking for other actresses for the options. Supposedly right now, the leader, the leader of the pack right now is Jodie Comer, who is an Emmy Award winner for the TV show Killing Eve, and another possibility is Anya Taylor-Joy, who, if you saw, what is it, Split, the M. Night Shyamalan movie Split, she's there. She's also in The Witch, which I think is probably her best role so far. That was her breakout role. Anyway, both would be good options. I would prefer Charlize Theron, but whatever. Doesn't matter. It all depends on how they play the character, and I haven't really seen Jodie Comer on anything. I haven't seen Killing Eve, but we'll see. The thing is, how is this going to be a good movie? Now, so far, Mad Max Fury Road is probably one of the best action movies out there, and if they kind of keep it in that vein, it could be really good, because what they set up in Fury Road is amazing. That world, that whole clan there is really, truly fascinating. And the movie's really well made. The action is nonstop. It's awesome. It has the movie has minimal dialogue, but it's you follow. It has a full, very interesting story. So, the question here is, are we going to see something interesting from Furiosa? Like, supposedly when you watch a movie, you're watching the most interesting part of a character's lives, and the issue with a prequel with a main character, it's okay to do a prequel with secondary characters because you don't follow them that much, but with a main character you do follow them a lot and you kind of know quite a bit about them. But the issue with making a prequel with pretty much anything is that you already know how their story ends, or if they'll come out, let's say, alive by the end of it. Furiosa has some interesting details in her life. I'm pretty sure that we could be interesting to see how she ended up in that position, how she grew, the whole thing with her hand. It has options, and usually a good prequel is you have to show a major turn in a character. A perfect example is something that I've talked about a lot recently, the Star Wars movies. The only reason why those prequels kind of worked is because you needed to see, the downfall of the Jedi and the turn of one of the major characters there. In the second in Empire Strikes Back, you get a major reveal, and so getting to and it's a major turn of character. You realize that a character turned to the dark side. So seeing a character turn in the prequels from the light side to the dark side, that could be interesting. You could also see the fall of a bunch of really tragic characters, and that's always great. And a perfect example, still in the Star Wars vein, Rogue One. Rogue One is a perfect example, is because you're following new characters that you never heard of before, honestly, and you suspect what their fate's going to be, but you're not sure. But so you're always, the whole entire time, you're kind of like hoping against hope, but you never really know until the very end. So prequels are tricky. It's hard, and you have to have a really good story that makes up for the fact that you already know what's going to happen. That's always the trick. That's always the hardest part. You have to give the audience something. So Mad Max Fury Road was so well made. George Miller did a great job, and it sounds like he's returning to it, that I'd be willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. That world was so interesting. The Mad Max world is extremely interesting. Extremely interesting. And that particular part of that world, that clan, the bunch of psychos, was interesting enough, and Furiosa was interesting enough that I'd actually like to see what the hell is going on there. So far, it's been reported that they're actually, it's been in development, and it's been discussed for a really long time, but now they're actually looking for the leading lady. So honestly, I'm excited. I'm excited. This could be really good. It could also be really bad, but like I said, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. If they only end up making just like another chase movie, I'd be happy with it. Honestly, I don't care. It's gonna be hard because Furiosa's character kind of ends up working for the bad guy. So it would probably have to be a fall from grace of this character, which I don't hate, or surviving in this really dark world while trying to be a hero in the down low. I don't know. Honestly, it's got a lot of angles it could touch. So I'm interested, and we don't know enough about Furiosa and her backstory and everything for that stuff to have been spoiled in Fury Road, but we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. The other big movie that is supposedly in the works of getting a prequel is the action classic Heat. Michael Mann's Heat, with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer. Now, this movie is iconic because it's the first time that Al Pacino and Robert De Niro were on screen at the same time. This does not mean that they were in the first this was their first movie together. No, it means they were the first time on the same shot. And for those of you who don't know what the movie is, because it's kind of old, it came out, what was it, the 80s, 90s? 95, so it came out in the 90s. But here's the premise of the story. A brilliant LA cop, Pacino, follows the trail from a deadly armed robbery and becomes fixated on a deadly but equally brilliant master thief, De Niro, and his crew, Kilmer, John Voight, who are taking Los Angeles to the cleaners. So basically, it's a cop versus criminal story. It's a game of cat and mouse. It's great. It's a great movie. One of the action sequences are fantastic, and SWAT teams and the Army have said that they use the retreat scene, one of the shootout scenes, as a perfect example of how you do a strategic retreat during a shootout. It is really well made, really well developed. The story is great, extremely well acted. So here's where I'm a little bit concerned: making a prequel film. Now, you got the two main characters here are Pacino's detective and De Niro's thief, right? That's the game of cat and mouse. However, whose story are you going to be telling, and how is it going to be better than their fight together? Because these two are like the apex of their jobs, and they go head to head, so it's interesting and great to watch. So who can you put for them to go against that would be better than that? Because you already gave us Heat. That's the problem. You already gave us that. So you need to give us something that's at least on par or better. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing? You're just doing a cash grab. That's the issue. And so, who would I like to see? Do I care more about the story of the thief, De Niro's character, or the story of the cop? Could we see maybe the thing that brings the cop to fame, or we could see the master thief kind of go into, his own? Honestly, I think that the story of the cop would be way better, simply because De Niro's character supposedly was so good, then that's why he was never really caught and he was really off the radar. So I think it would be a little bit more interesting because he's more of a flawed character. De Niro his character had a lot of issues, but he was more of a perfectionist in what he did. So I don't think that there's a lot there. Well, the life of a criminal is always interesting to see on screen. He dealt with a lot of shady characters, and learning to do all the stuff that he did, well, all the assault attack stuff would be pretty interesting. So I don't know if I have to. Well, clearly they can't be in the same movie together. It would make no sense. Their big conflict comes later on in the movie Heat. So who would I rather see? A hotshot a brilliant LA cop, or the master thief? Whose story is more interesting? Honestly, I think the story from the thief. Because you could see the big mistakes that led him into being so overly cautious about everything. Because honestly, nobody ever starts from perfect. Nobody ever starts perfect, and even in Heat, he's not perfect. So seeing how all the fuck ups, all the characters, all the shady people that led him up to that point to become, the best, the best in his business, would be pretty good. So I'd be more excited to see the story of the thief. And interestingly enough, there's also talks about, and this is, what? I'll just read you what Michael Mann said himself. Right? Michael Mann's the director of this movie, who, by the way, hasn't really done much in the last few years. I mean, he's been a producer for a lot of stuff. Like, he directed Ford vs. Ferrari, which was one of my favorite movies of last year. But as a director, he really hasn't done much. Like the last big thing that he did was probably Public Enemies back in 2019, Black Hat 2015. But he's directed really great movies. Like, he directed Collateral with Tom Cruise, Ali with Bruce Willis, Last of the Mohicans with Daniel Day-Lewis. He's one of the best directors, but he doesn't do it that much. I don't know why. It's really weird. Anyway, I'll read you exactly what Michael Mann said during an interview on Deadline, where he talks about, because for those of you who don't know, Heat is based off a novel, and there's actually a novel version of. I have no idea what the novel's about. I haven't read it. I haven't even read the summary of it or anything. That's why I'm just speculating here on what the movie could be. But supposedly he wants to turn the novel into a screenplay, and here's what he said: "It's a stack about 10 inches high on my desk right now. We're on it, and I'm putting time into that screenplay. I can't tell you about right now, but I absolutely want to make a movie of the Heat prequel." So he also mentioned after that he's working on a sequel as well. I don't know why they left that off the quote, but supposedly he's working on a sequel as well. This one, I'm pretty sure you can only follow one character, but you haven't seen the movie. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. But honestly, it's exciting stuff. It could be exciting stuff. Like I said, I don't know what the book is about, and I'm not going to look it up because I want to be surprised whenever I hear anything, if it actually comes to something. But prequels from these two, at least from these two movies, if they're still made by the original creators, I'm pretty excited about because they're among the best action films of all time. Heat and Mad Max Fury Road are up there, top 10 in terms of, action movies. Well, good action movies. And so it could be exciting. It could be interesting. I'm not a big fan of them just going through the same old ideas, going through the same old characters. It's annoying, and it seems like a cash grab to me mostly. But for this one, since they were so well made on the first one, and since it sounds that there's still a little bit of meat left on the bone, I'm okay with it. Honestly, it's more about who's making it than what are they making. If it would have been anybody else saying, I want to make a Heat prequel, I'd be like, fuck you. But it's Michael Mann. He's been out of the limelight for a really long time. I'm pretty sure he's not going to go back into the director's chair and embarrass himself. Pretty sure George Miller feels the same way. He's not going to go back to Mad Max, to the world of Mad Max, and just embarrass himself and ruin his previous legacy. That's the thing. They have a legacy to defend right now, and I'm pretty sure they're the last ones who want to tarnish it for money, or at least that's what I hope. That's what I would hope. That's how I feel about my own work. If I did something that's considered by a lot of people to be among the best of all time, I would want to be the last person to tarnish that legacy. So we'll see, because other people have fucked up before. But we'll see. Anyway, that's it for today. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram or at Super Dario World. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next time.